Cryptid court. Well, two people talk about cryptids, one cryptid, and we put it on trial. One person explains why it could be real, and the other person explains why that's a silly idea. Am I for it or against it today?
Oh, I thought we were... Well, I made all my arguments for, so...
Oh, well, okay then.
Did you make your...
I didn't prepare any arguments.
Okay.
It's off the cuff.
All right.
So, yeah. I did learn about the natural environment. Lake Tianchi.
Yeah, so we're doing the Lake Tianchi monster.
Yeah. It's a lake on the border of North Korea and China, which that's a pretty... I mean, if any place is unstudied, that's one, right?
Yeah.
Which already is interesting. And I couldn't understand what it's even supposed to look like is the thing. It's so vague. It's just like something swimming around. Maybe there's multiple of them. Sometimes they have a human head. I don't know. The lake is a volcanic caldera. So.
And what does that mean?
It's a crater from a volcanic eruption. The volcano in question is Pakdu Mountain. Or I was looking up how to pronounce Korean words, and I think I just forgot. Pakdu.
Yeah, I think. Yeah. Oh, never mind. I thought I looked up how to say the lake's name in Korean, but I guess.
Oh, Chunji.
Chunji. Okay.
Yeah, it's Chunji in Korean and Tianchi in Chinese. Tianchi.
And sometimes translated to Heaven's Lake.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So. I guess just a few other facts I wanted to say about the lake really quickly. The average depth is about 204 meters or 669 feet, and its deepest part is 373 meters or 1,223 feet. So there's a few hurdles to get over from my side, which is because the lake is so high up. It's 2,000 meters high, or over 7,000 feet. And where it is, 8 months of the year, the area is covered in snow and ice. And the average temperature is between 1 and 11 degrees Celsius, which is 30 to 50 Fahrenheit, I think.
The whole year?
8 months of the year.
Oh, you said the average temperature. That's the
the average temperature throughout the year, sorry.
Oh.
Wow. So not a place you'd imagine life would thrive. China's global television network stated no animal can survive here. However, I guess I'll start by just a few of the sightings. I've read that this goes back hundreds and hundreds of years, but maybe they're not translated into English, or I don't know. There's not many sources on this one. But one of the earlier ones is from 1903, where the creature apparently attacked people, but it was shot and then returned to the lake. In 1962, 2 creatures were seen in the water, and there was nearly 100 witnesses. Okay? What are you laughing at?
Well, were you able to interview any of these witnesses?
From the 1960s? No.
Okay.
Maybe they'll come on the podcast. In July of 2002, there are also many other witnesses of the creature, and someone from the local tourism office even saw one. I think his name was Zhu Xunlin. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, which I probably am. And he said the monster came 10 meters from the shore, and it jumped out of the water like a seal. So remember that. And I have a few more things I want to say, but do you want to jump in on any skepticism?
So you're getting these sources from Chinese state TV?
Yeah, some of them are. But
it's interesting because...
But to be fair, most of the reporting that's done around that area is from government-controlled news organizations, so it's not...
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's hard. This isn't even for or against the existence of this monster. It's just more how much can we really trust? Because there's only one source. I don't know.
One of my sources is a Japanese newspaper.
Okay.
From someone from North Korea that's going to come up.
It's just, it's hard to prove or disprove something that is so closed off, you know?
Yeah. But tourists can visit there, though.
Yeah. So what else do I have to say about this? I guess it's weird that it's so cold. And so far you haven't really given me a description of this creature other than it jumped out like a seal. Because I read that they stock the lake with fish. There's one particular kind of fish that it's doing well there called the Tianchi trout.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I saw one thing that said maybe the sightings are mutated or just weird images of the fish.
Right.
Because, like, in mountain lakes like that, things just don't survive. They have to be regularly restocked with fish for the sport fishermen. And it just doesn't...
But...
Like... Again, no one's telling me what this creature is supposed to be. So how am I supposed to make a conclusion? Like, if they're saying, oh, it's a fish, then yeah, sure, it's a fish.
Well, I think some people have, like on cryptid forums, they say that it's a large pinniped. So sort of like a large seal-looking creature.
Okay, one seal or multiple seals, right? Because they've said that there are multiples.
Yeah.
I guess I could see seal because I did see something that said it had a human head. And that's what everyone says about manatees.
Yeah, and even mermaid sightings.
I guess manatees aren't seals, but like just the idea that people confuse a mammal in the water with a human head swimming creature is very frequent.
Mm-hmm. So that's the thing. It does seem like there is, for the statement that no animal could survive there, that there is something living there.
But the fish probably die every winter.
Do they though?
Well, maybe not, but... yeah, I guess it's weird that the government said no animal can survive there because fish can survive winters and stuff. So
yeah, because
it's interesting. Maybe they're trying to hide it. It's hard to say. But if they're trying to hide it, though, they wouldn't be publishing on their news the information about it. So it's really I prefer when I'm evaluating a source to imagine what their goal is, and here I'm just perplexed as to what they're trying to do. Like, if it's real and they're trying to hide it, they're not doing a good job. And if it's not real, but they're trying to act like it is, they're still not really doing a good job. So.
All right. This has sort of gone in a direction I didn't think it would go in.
What do you want me to say?
No, you can say whatever. I'm just picking up the pieces. I guess I'm just going to plow ahead a little bit and say that we're kind of talking as if something definitely was seen there.
I didn't say that. I said I can't trust this source very much.
Okay. But in September of 2007, a reporter, I hope I can say this name right, Sho Yong-shun, he went to the lake at sunrise because he wanted to try and record the sunrise over the lake, but it was cloudy, so he couldn't do that. But he saw something even better. He had a sighting, and he had a camera with him. Now, even though it was a video camera, we don't have the video, but...
And why not? Where is it?
I don't know. I just can't find it anywhere. But there are stills online of it, and you can see multiple like dark objects, and like they're really far away because they're on like the slopes of a mountain. But you can see dark objects, and you can see like the ripples, like that V shape behind them. So it looks like there's something moving through the water, or some things.
Are people allowed to swim in the lake?
I don't know. I imagine it's pretty cold.
Well, yeah, but you can wear a wetsuit.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's some information I need, if people could swim in it, all the kinds of fish that they use to stock the lake.
Yeah, well, I guess we could jump ahead. I read, it was a researcher from North Korea who gave an interview to a Japanese newspaper. And in the 1960s, they stocked the lake with the trout, and there's two other fish. Carp and mosquito eaters, I think. And they found that they were able to survive in the lake. And I think it was because they were able to feed off insects or, I don't know, small animals getting blown into the lake by the wind.
Right, but I'm saying, what if this footage is just some fish?
But would fish go up to the surface and swim like...
If they're eating insects, they would. In
a straight line for like 10 minutes?
I don't know.
I mean, maybe they're like a unique species or have become a unique species of fish. Like the Tianchi trout or whatever, but maybe there's some kind of seal.
Yeah. So what was the seal eating before they stocked it with fish? Or did it come in after they started stocking it?
Well, I'd imagine that there were already fish in the lake. Because if those other ones could survive, what would stop previous fish from being in the lake and being able to survive?
Well, it's not a lake that's fed by a river. How would the fish even get there? That's a common characteristic of these mountainous lakes, is that they're from sort of an isolated... They're in a crater. So the water started gathering from rain, not from a river feeding it. And they usually have to be stocked. Like, I don't see why there would be fish there. Well, yeah, why would there be fish there?
Well, how do we know that there wasn't a river feeding it? Like, this lake is supposedly 12 million years old.
Because it's on the top of a mountain. How the river would have to come from somewhere carrying fish.
Okay, but what about Lake Baikal? That's like, how high up is that? Lake Baikal?
Is it on a mountain or is it on a plain though?
Well, I guess it's not on a mountain, but it's 450 meters above sea level.
I just don't understand the logistics of this, how it would stock itself with fish, given it was created by a volcanic crater, and the fish would have to swim upstream from wherever this... I mean, do we even know, does it empty out from a river?
Yeah, it does. There's a waterfall that empties out of it.
So the fish would have to swim upstream from this waterfall from wherever, like a really long way, I presume, and then live in this super cold lake. And then there have to be enough of them doing that to create a population for this seal to discover it. The seal that is for some reason in the mountains. And then the seal's like, oh yeah, here's what I've been looking for these multiple days hiking over the mountains with no food. Finally. I don't know.
So within the last few million years, is it not possible that there could have been a river connected to this lake, like even after its formation?
I just don't, I can't picture that. Maybe, I guess. I'm not a geography expert or a geology expert. It just seems fishy. Fishy to me.
Yeah, I guess a bit on the back foot here now. I don't know.
I thought you prepared notes.
I do. I'm looking at my
And I didn't prepare anything.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess there's also, but people say this about like every lake monster, that there's like underground tunnels that lead to other bodies of water. I mean, I guess it is a pretty deep lake, and I don't think it's been surveyed, but I don't know. I was sort of thinking perhaps there could have been some kind of river or other body of water that was connected to it. You know, the way like Lake Baikal and the Caspian Sea are both landlocked, but they have like an abundance of different life, unique life, especially like Lake Baikal. Yeah,
well, isn't that because, wouldn't that have to do with tectonic plates and the whole area used to be underwater, and then the Earth's crust rose, isolating that bit of water
I think Lake Baikal is like right on...
Or is that not true?
Right on like a fault line, and that's why it's so deep, because it's being like...
Okay, so wasn't it covered in water before? The whole surroundings were covered in water, and it was essentially like part of the ocean, and then it got cut off, versus a mountain erupting, creating a crater, totally isolated. I don't know.
All right.
Are you giving up?
I'm going to shift gears very quickly and say, well, I mean, I guess there's two angles I can go from here. So I guess the first one would be, this is sort of the more out there one. Could they have, for some reason, put seals in to see if they could survive?
Oh, I could totally see that. Like, if they're already going to put in fish. This is what I'm saying. What I want to know, more than is it real, is what's the angle that the state media is trying to play here? Why are they allowed...
There's not that many sources on it, so it feels like they barely care that much.
Well, I know, but how easy is it for a Japanese publication to get an interview with a North Korean citizen? How, much effort, does someone have to approve these things that are being put out of the video from this region and, the government statement about what can and can't survive in that lake? I mean, is there an angle that they're trying to put forth? Could that explain? Is there some conspiracy thing with the seal that they're stalking? Or, I don't know, is it just a weird blip and there's not really anything at all?
Yeah.
I'm just curious about the angle of the media rather than... I guess I want to know what's going on, but...
It's also difficult.
I want to get down to...
There's two different governments involved, basically.
Right. But they're basically going to say the same thing.
Yeah, maybe, but I could imagine one doing something without telling the other as well.
Right, so North Korea suddenly got its hands on a seal.
Well, they're the ones that put the trout in, right? And the fish. They did all the fish
did
stuff.
They? I'm not sure.
It was... Well, that's what I read from the interview.
But yeah, it's interesting. I think thinking of it from a government sort of conspiracy, more cover-up angle is way more interesting than trying to imagine a seal somehow getting naturally into this lake that has naturally stocked itself with fish.
Yeah, I can see that. I guess it's just because it doesn't sound like a regular seal. It sounds like sort of bigger and stuff. I was going to be like, try and take an angle that, well, if it was there for millions of years, it might be unique. Like that's the other thing. It's freshwater. So there are like the Lake Baikal seals are freshwater, but most seals are marine mammals.
Yeah.
But then
maybe they took some seals from Lake Baikal and just plopped them in the lake.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. Or then the other thing is, like you're saying about the fish, like where do you draw sort of the line? It's sort of like how some people say that maybe Nessie is a big eel. It's like, well, there are eels in Loch Ness, so how big before it can be classified as the monster?
Well, that's what I said. I said, how do you know it's not just the fish?
Well, if it is the fish, does that count?
Well, that's a philosophical question of what you're looking for when you're looking for a cryptid.
Yeah, but there are...
Like, are you trying to prove that the sightings are legitimate, or are you trying to prove that what people believe is real is real? Because you could either say none of the sightings are real, it's all made up or imagined, it's all false. Or you could
There's
say,
also photos,
oh, the sighting, they really saw something. They really took a picture of something, but it's just fish. Or you could say, they really saw something, no one believes them, but it's actually a seal, you know? It's like different layers of what are you looking for here?
But what I'm trying to say is, if it is a fish and it's this trout that has adapted particularly to this lake, and I guess it must be larger than average, like what does it have to do to qualify?
That's what I'm saying. It's a philosophical question for the people interested in this particular cryptid. Would they be happy if it turned out it was just a big trout? I don't know.
Okay.
Or are they always going, if it's someone says it's the trout, are they always going to be looking for the evidence that it wasn't and that it's actually, you know, what they think it is, which is a seal or something else?
Yeah. Don't really know where to go from. I read a book by this cryptozoologist once where he investigated a pond monster that was eating pigeons, and it turned out it was a big catfish that lived in the pond. So, like, did he prove the monster was real, or did he...
He got to the bottom of the rumors and the sightings, and he didn't prove the monster was real, but he legitimized the sightings and explained them.
Okay, so slight issues there, but I was just saying it's sort of tricky because I don't know, because at the end of the day, if a cryptid is discovered, then it would be an animal that we just know. So if there's an unknown fish, but can a subspecies be a cryptid?
I don't know. You're the one who's supposed to know about cryptids. I'm telling you it's a philosophical issue of your own belief as someone who's looking for these creatures. What you will be satisfied with, what the average, believer will be satisfied with. And that's not an answer that I can answer. That's not something I can answer because everyone will have a different opinion.
Yeah. This debate has gone a bit derailed though.
But I do really like the angle. I hadn't even considered that some government had just put the seal in there as a little experiment, because we know that like Russia, North Korea, and China, I mean, lots of governments, but they have done a lot of things just out of curiosity biologically. And those are really isolated regions, and they're really cold. And
they've already admitted to putting other animals in there. So
well, that's not as weird because it's very normal practice to stock mountain lakes with fish for sport fishing.
Okay.
I mean, just today I saw...
But it didn't seem to be for sport fishing, though. I think it was more just for research.
Oh, well, still. Like, I know that Russia, for example, does a lot of sketchy things. I just saw this thing today, and I'm not sure how real it is, but it was like, this is really upsetting. Trigger warning about animal abuse. But, like, they grafted 2 dogs together to see what would happen.
What?
Yeah. So they do stuff like that. And Russia and North Korea and China, they're all like friends basically, or they have been. And I wouldn't put it past them to be like, we have this seal from Lake Baikal, let's see what happens.
And if there was a seal there, would that mean the Tianchi monster was real?
I guess.
Okay. You're supposed to be arguing against.
Oh, but no, I just thought that was interesting. But you already heard my argument that it's very unlikely that...
You went... Sorry, go ahead.
It's very unlikely that it stocked itself with fish or seals, and it's not the same as Lake Baikal, and how can an animal even survive? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I've said it. I've said what I think.
Yeah, I think you made a lot of good points. I think the only angle I can take is that maybe there was some government intervention that caused the sightings.
Yep. Or the people are all, maybe they're just seeing things, or they're all paid off, or maybe they're not even real.
You're dropping some bombs here. What?
I'm just saying, like, we don't know these 100 witnesses.
But there are photos as well. There's photos of something.
Well, I haven't seen any good photos. I haven't seen anything good that was at all convincing.
If the photos are real, I guess it's easy to fake photos.
Yeah.
All right. I think we spent a long time debating the philosophy of this. And this week, the winner in the poll was I hope I pronounced this right. Lukwata? Does that sound good?
I think it's more like Lukwata. It doesn't.
Lukwata,
I don't know,
okay.
Whatever.
The Lukwata, which is or was maybe a lake monster reported from Lake Victoria. So I'll just say 4 then, since you're the biologist and you've taken an oath.
An oath? Okay.
You did take an oath, and you. Okay, so
I don't think I took an oath.
yeah, so this is a lake monster from Lake Victoria, as I said. So Lake Victoria is on the African continent, lies between Uganda, Tanzania, and Kenya. It's a very big lake. I think it's like the second biggest freshwater lake by volume. Huge lake. It's called Lake Victoria because it was, quote, discovered in the 1850s by the British, and they decided to name it after their Queen Victoria. And before that, no one in the area noticed the giant lake that was there, I guess. So what is this monster? Now, there's a variety of descriptions, but most of them seem to be reptilian. So some kind of a large reptile, possibly a very big snake, or kind of a serpent creature anyway. Why is it called Lukwata? Is it Lukwata? Lukwata?
Yeah, more like Lukwata.
Lukwata. It's not entirely known. A lot of the investigation was done by Bernard Heuvelman, who was pretty much the father of cryptozoology. He, I think he coined the term in the 1950s. He wrote a book, In Search of Unknown Animals. He was a Belgian-French zoologist. So a lot of the sightings and info come from work that he did. He tried to figure out the etymology, why it was called this. There are some kind of weird explanations, like it was just someone trying to say in English, look at water, which he thinks is or he thought was ridiculous and probably not true. Apparently, the Lu part could signify giant in Ganda, although it could just be a generic term for like monstrous animal. You're smiling. Have I said something wrong?
No.
Okay. Anyway, so the sightings of this creature began in the late 1800s and the early 1900s. Not so many in recent times. So if it did exist, which I'm arguing it did, it may be dead now. So R.I.P. I guess. So a lot of these sightings, I guess the records come from the British who, I don't know, were interviewed by Mr. Heuvelman. Some of the earlier sightings aren't really sightings. They're just that people have heard about a large creature that some of the locals talk about and are somewhat fearful of. Though there are some written accounts. So apparently, I'll just go for the most famous one and then you can jump in and say what you want to say. But an English diplomat, Sir Clement Lloyd Hill, apparently was on a steamboat going over Lake Victoria when he had a sighting of the creature, which is 20 to 30 feet long, huge giant head, followed the boat. There's different accounts, but in one of them, it tried to attack, it tried to pull someone off the boat before swimming away. But yeah, he that's probably one of the more famous ones. There's a few more sightings. I don't know. Do you want to jump in and say anything? I've been talking a lot.
Are you just going to go over all the sightings?
No, I'm just pointing them out to say, people seem to have seen something.
Yeah, so a lot of the accounts are from people who other people have said were reliable and wouldn't make something up just for sensationalism.
Yeah, so that was Hill's account, actually.
Yeah, I'm thinking that maybe Lukwata is just something like, obviously the people have a myth. It's a mythological creature in their religion. Whatever, it's a folktale. And so when they see something big on the lake, no matter what it is or what it looks like, they'll say, oh, it's a Lukwata. It's just a handy explanation for something weird happening on the lake. So I'm going to say that there isn't a creature Lukwata. It's just sometimes there are big snakes. Sometimes there are big fish. There are just various big things or interesting animals in there swimming around. And every sighting is a different one of those animals or something else. like just random, and it's not actually a cryptid. There's nothing to be found because it's just a handy explanation. That thing was a Lukwata.
Let me push back on that point a bit and ask then, why is there no more recent sightings? Why is it there was like a time period where there was a bunch of sightings and then it stopped? If it's just any big thing on the lake.
Maybe people got less superstitious and they learned more about science and they see animals and now they say what they are.
So before they were seeing the animal, but they didn't know what kind of animal it was?
Yeah, maybe. Or they just immediately, their mind jumped to Lukwata and they saw what they wanted to see. Or in the case of the British people, they don't have this myth. So they're like, oh, what's that thing? They ask a local person. The local person says, oh, you must have seen a Lukwata, because it's their myth. Versus now, people have studied it, so.
In some cases, but some are first-hand accounts. If I could go, I want to talk about one more sighting really quick. This is from Major A.J. Ward of the King's African Rifles. So, this account is actually from his wife. So both of them apparently saw a 20 to 30 foot long-humped animal on the shore that swam into the lake. I have a direct quote, but it's a bit long. I'll just read it really quickly. This is what the wife of the major said. As my husband and I approached the pier of the small jetty, I saw a bizarre object coming out of the papyrus swamp at the very edge of the water, and moving away at a brisk pace with vertical movement. I described it previously. It appeared to have a head like a snake and appeared black. It seemed to be very long and must have been extremely wide. I would say, roughly speaking, thickness must have been that of an average thigh, perhaps 2 thighs pressed together. It moved with rapidity and could be partly in and partly out of the water at the same time. It made straight for the center of the lake. I think must have been resting among the papyri when we disturbed it.
Okay, so why couldn't that just be a snake?
Well, maybe it is a kind of snake, but it wouldn't be a known snake if their description is accurate.
It couldn't be a snake that we already know about? Why?
Well, first of all, it's too big. And second of all, they said it swam with a bit of it. Where does it say? It moved rapidly and could be partly in and partly out of the water at the same time. Doesn't it sound like it's undulating up and down?
Well, because the on the cryptozoology fandom thing about Lukwata, it says several explanations. Which story is this by? Who is this by?
It doesn't give the name of the wife. It was Major A.J. Ward. Wait.
Oh.
Director of wife in 60.
Well,
T. Coxon's wife. Sorry.
Anyway, some of the explanations have been African rock pythons, African softshell turtles, and a giant catfish. So it could have been a giant catfish.
Okay, but how can it be a catfish if it's seen resting on the shore?
This thing, for example, like I said, people see what they want to see, what they're expecting to see. The Wikipedia page also says the description could have been subconsciously influenced by accounts of the lake monster. People have already heard about it. They've heard about it from the locals. They've heard about it from the accounts written by the British people of the area. And then they see something and they go, oh my gosh, is it the thing? And then they look for the evidence that supports that.
I mean, I guess, but I don't see why then it would stop all of a sudden. Like if you look at that phenomena around like anywhere else, it persists to like modern day.
Well, maybe people just got tired of it. I don't know. Have there really been no sightings?
A lot less. There apparently, I don't know how accurate this is, but I've read somewhere that after a new dam was built, there was a couple of new sightings, possibly 2014. All I'm saying is...
Well, maybe you can explain it by all the big animals that were previously... maybe you could just say that all the big animals that were previously living in the lake, they can't survive anymore or something happened to them, or they're just less frequent. The pythons, the big catfish aren't getting as big anymore. Anything. There could be a lot of explanations besides, oh, we don't see it now and we did see it then, so it must have been real then.
But picture this, right? So at this time we have new or newish people moving to these areas and discovering them, in quotation marks. And I presume this is a time where they're increasing probably industrialization and hunting is a big thing and habitat destruction to make way for countless things. If a large creature did live in the area, all of these things would be like, these are like top of the list things that can lead to extinction, like habitat loss or loss of a prey species or less of a prey species. So I'm just wondering if it's possible that maybe there was another kind of, let's just say snake, but not the Central African rock python, maybe something even larger, darker in color, that lived around the lake, that on some occasions could be a little bit aggressive, probably not very often, and that in the late 1800s to early 1900s, maybe a handful of the last few, or maybe the last one in the area was spotted a few times, and that maybe the locals are more aware of it because, for generations they knew they knew somewhat of this creature, but, it went extinct. It wasn't able to reproduce. It wasn't able to survive.
Yeah, maybe. Or all that habitat change and other development made the big rock pythons, the big catfish, and the other things in the lake go away.
But we still have those animals around there. Like we still have rock pythons and catfish, but we don't have the sightings.
Maybe they weren't getting as big.
Maybe. I don't know. I think I've said everything I have to say on it. Do you have any final statements, closing arguments?
Yeah, I guess I've said everything I have to say. I just think that people were looking for something that they'd heard about, and maybe if they weren't sure what it was, they asked the locals to. They said, "Oh, I saw this thing in the water, and it did such and such a thing, and it looked like this." And the local said it's a Lukwata because it fit into their myth. And so a lot of different sightings were conflated into one creature, and either a decrease in superstition, an increase in learning biology, or just more development leading to the animals not getting as big. They all came together to make these creatures' sightings less common. That's what I'll say.
All right.
But who knows? In the comments, please say who won.
Yeah. I'll take a little bit of what you're saying. I'll say, yeah, that might be part of it, but I think there's another part. But yeah, that's enough of that.
So yes, please tell us who convinced you, one way or the other.
Yeah. And this week, in a surprising turn of events, we're going to be debating a lake monster. But this is one I've actually heard of before.
Yeah, it might be the Holy Grail, one of the Holy Grails of lake monsters.
Yeah, after, I guess probably Nessie is the most famous, but after her, maybe this one is the most popular. And we are talking about Champ. Do you want to introduce who Champ is?
Okay. So Champ is a lake monster said to live in Lake Champlain, which is a 125-mile or 201-kilometer long body of fresh water shared by New York, Vermont, and Quebec, Canada. So this monster has been seen for ages, like pretty much ever since humans have lived around the lake, they have been seeing Champ. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. So just to make it clear, today I guess Mika will be on the pro side, arguing that Champ could be real, and I'll be arguing against the existence of Champ. So do you want to make an argument first, or shall I?
Okay. So I just want to again point out the long body of evidence, like how much evidence there is. The indigenous people of the area have long lived and hunted near Lake Champlain. The Abenaki and the Iroquois. They have their own legends about a large creature inhabiting the lake, which looked like a large horned serpent or a giant snake. And then when people from Europe started settling there, they also started seeing it as well. By 1992, there were 180 sightings. Approximately 600 people had claimed to have seen Champ all over the lake. As of today, as far as I can tell, there are about 300 sightings. Yeah, so that's my first point, is just that it's been seen consistently for hundreds of years, if not thousands.
Okay. Should I try and go in with a counterpoint?
Mm-hmm.
How do you know that it's not some big fish like a gar or a sturgeon that also inhabits the lake?
Well, Maybe it is. Well, first of all, it could be a really big one. Or there are some sightings that were like much longer than a typical gar or sturgeon, which I think merits it being its own creature because it's way too big.
It is way too big.
So, like, maybe it is a fish, but it's a really big fish. But either way, it's not exactly the same description as a gar or a sturgeon.
Yeah. But I think when it comes to something like a lake monster, there's probably not one explanation. There's probably like multiple. Like maybe some people saw a gar, some people saw a sturgeon, some people saw a floating log, some people saw some other phenomena or something. And because they're primed to think that there's a lake monster in a lake, they attribute it to Champ. And just on the thing of size, I just want to mention that, did you hear about the 1813 sighting by Captain Crumb?
I'm not sure. Maybe.
He said it was 57 meters long.
Oh, yeah.
So, I think that's probably way too big.
Yeah, I think he made maybe a mistake there. But, let's see. More points. This is one of the most famous cryptids in the world. And there are a lot of people who don't deny its existence and, in fact, make policy and statements confirming its existence. So, Champ is protected by law on both sides of the lake. I believe, like, all places where it is, Canada, New York, and Vermont. So that means it's illegal to hunt and kill Champ. So if there's a law, I mean, that's a bit validating, don't you think?
Not particularly, no.
Another thing is, it's one of the most commonly, I guess, agreed upon cryptids to exist by cryptozoologists. Like,
really?
Well, that's what this one guy said, who has been studying them for his whole life. He's been studying champ for his whole life. And there's even a scientific name for it. Bellua aquatica champlainiensis. So, I think that if there's so much overwhelming evidence that even the government has to take a stand, that's something.
That's all interesting, but none of it sounds like evidence to me. I don't know. I mean, the Nepalese government took a stand on the Yeti. Do you think the Yeti is real?
Could be.
Okay, I just don't think that's really evidence, though. That seems like more of a fail-safe, okay, if there happens to be something in here, then don't kill it because it's probably rare. But I don't think that proves that it exists. I mean, that law is probably based off of sightings, and sightings aren't really evidence.
Well, it proves that there's enough evidence to make that law.
I don't know. I think it proves that there's enough public opinion or... Well,
opinion has to come from somewhere. I'm saying that it proves that this is something substantial to look into. It's not just a little gimmick. It's it's a big deal.
I feel like it maybe is a bit of a gimmick though, because isn't it like a massive tourist thing now? Like I saw many shops and restaurants were named Champ, and there's boat tours to try and see Champ and stuff.
I guess so, but there are also boat tours to see whales. And are you saying whales are fake?
No, because if you go on many people who go on whale tours actually see and photograph and video whales.
On the boat tour to see Champ, so.
Okay, well, where are the photos and videos then?
Well, according to the, I forgot the name of the people who saw him, but they took a video and they were saying that he was really camera shy and it was hard. He likes to stay just under the water where it's very difficult to photograph. So.
I don't know, man. I've seen 2 or 3 different videos allegedly of Champ. One was an elephant seal, one was a deer swimming across the river, and the other one you couldn't even tell what it was. It could have just been a fish.
Champ is camera shy. It's going to be difficult to get a picture unless you go in full scuba gear and a waterproof, really good camera.
What is Champ? What animal is he?
Well, no one knows, do they? Here are some theories.
It's real. What is it? I don't know.
Here are some theories. One, which I don't think discounts the cryptid factor, could be a very large fish such as a gar or
sturgeon.
A sturgeon. 2, some people think it could be a plesiosaur that survived the extinction of all other plesiosaurs.
How did it do that?
Well, it just happened to survive by being very good at living. Thirdly, I did find this intriguing. There were sounds recorded from within the lake by the Fauna Communications Research Institute in 2003. for part of a Discovery Channel program. The sounds were similar to those produced by beluga whales or dolphins, and those do not live in Lake Champlain. So, where did the sound come from? You can conclude that there's something in there making a sound. And I was thinking, and a third theory could be that it is some kind of marine, like, mammal.
I have heard that. I've heard some people say beluga whale, and I've heard some people say surviving basilosaur.
Because there are fossils. They did find a fossil of a beluga whale in the lake before, which proves that they were there before. So maybe they have evolved and they're not exactly the same as beluga whales now. But
wouldn't a beluga whale have to surface a lot for oxygen?
Yeah. So then it comes up and then it goes back down again.
Okay, but wouldn't that make it a little easier to find?
Well, that's how people often find it, was when it comes up. They just can't take a picture because they're all very bad at taking pictures. I'm just saying, the third theory could be some sort of marine animal that makes underwater sounds. Marine mammal, I mean.
Maybe.
Anything else?
I guess you're... what else can I say? I just wanted to say earlier, you said the thing about like the natives had a legend and then like Westerners had the same idea or something. But I feel like we have that with a lot of lake monsters, and it's not really the same legend. It's like they sort of converge and people say that they were the same thing even though they weren't. I guess you don't want to talk about the photo from 1977?
We can talk about the photo from 1977.
Well, you didn't bring it up as evidence, so I presume you're just going to say that it's not evidence then?
I never said it wasn't evidence. Go ahead and bring it up.
Well, do you think it's an authentic photo of a creature?
Look, you're always saying dates and things.
The Sandra Mansi photo. It's the most famous photo of Champ, where it looks like a plesiosaur.
So, I saw another video talking about this and how that part of the lake is too shallow to support a creature the size that everyone is saying Champ is. However, the video I saw had a theory that it's not entirely true that this animal would be beached at that depth. Perhaps, like many marine animals, it is sunbathing, it is basking in the sun at a shallow depth with its limbs resting on the bottom. So, I want to say that just because an area is shallow, too shallow for the animal to swim without getting beached, doesn't mean it wouldn't be there of its own volition, trying to warm up.
Yeah, well, I think the photo itself is pretty dubious. So Sandra Mansi took one photo, only one, of this huge creature, and then apparently left. She apparently lost the negative, or that's what she said, but then her husband said no, they burned the negative because it had bad memories. She also didn't... Yeah, apparently they were scared of it or something. She also didn't... She took the photo in 1977, but she didn't show it to anyone until 1981, and she claimed that's because she lost it. Then other stories, they claimed that they hung it up in their house for people to look at. She also said she couldn't remember where it was taken at first, even though she was a native to the area. One of the Champ investigators, so a cryptozoologist who believed in Champ, said she was obsessed with profiting from the photo. There was a quote where she said the skin had bark-like texture. I don't know. I think when you look at it at first, it's like, oh wow, that's a pretty clear and cool-looking image. But I think it could very easily just be a piece of a tree trunk or something.
Yeah, I think that picture in particular could be a log. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, in conclusion, I don't know.
It's because we're sort of burned out on lake monsters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're probably going to just try and take a break from lake monsters for a while.
Well, I keep trying to, but this is... I follow the generator.
Yeah. I think next time, even if a lake monster comes up in the generator, we'll just re-choose that option.
Oh, here's some news about Champ, though. There's a feature dramatic film coming out, Lucy and the Lake Monster, about a young orphan girl and her grandfather looking for Champ. It's in post-production now, and it should come out on streaming later this year.
Is Ted Danson in it?
I don't think so.
Oh, that's a shame.
So maybe if we watch that movie, we'll finally get some answers. Because they filmed in the area, I think.
Maybe.
However, it is a fictional film, so maybe not.
All right. I don't know. I guess we could move on unless you have anything you want to close on.
No, I just think that some evidence is very interesting, especially the sound recordings. I really want to know what made those.
That is That is the most interesting piece of evidence I've heard, actually.
And it could just be like some weird big fish. But we have to get to the bottom of what's making those sounds. That's what I would say. And if you have any thoughts on this, or if you've seen Champ, please let us know.
And this week, I think this is the 4th time in the row we've got another lake monster.
Yeah.
Has won the poll. So we might try and change up the voting system. Maybe we'll have it that like people can mail in a cryptid or something that they want.
Yeah. Is anyone going to do that though?
I don't know. If anyone has any suggestions in the comments or wants to email another way of doing it.
Because everyone just keeps voting for the lake monsters, but they don't seem to be actually watching it, so they keep wanting more lake monster content.
Yeah, because it's on. I have to put the poll on the separate YouTube channel where I can actually make a poll. We get a lot of votes, so I appreciate that, but we get maybe over 1,000 votes and we get about 100 views. So it's like the people that are voting and the people that are watching it's not the same amount. So maybe it's not fair to the people who are listening.
Yeah.
If other people are voting for something and they're not listeners. I don't know. We might try and change it up and figure it out next time. But this time we're going to be debating Charlie, Slimy Slim, or the Twilight Dragon of Payette Lake.
You know, we might run out of lake monsters and it won't be an issue.
I don't know, man. There's like, every lake has a lake monster almost.
Well, yeah. Okay, so Charlie.
Yeah, in McCall, Idaho.
Right. Charlie is like basically a Loch Ness monster type, or a plesiosaur type maybe, living in a lake in Idaho.
Yeah, there's been a few like notable sightings, I guess. Mm-hmm. Should I run through them first and then... So I'm on the pro side this week, right? So here's reasons why you should believe in Charlie. So apparently this dates back to Native American folklore, although I read it as like a spirit or something, so I don't know how close the modern version is to the original myth or whatever. But the first Western report was from the 1920s from loggers, I think. Or no, railway workers who thought they saw a giant log, but then it started undulating and swimming. Then the next notable one was in the 1940s, 1944. This is when multiple groups saw the creature, and they said it was about 30 to 35 feet long, had a big dinosaur head, huge jaws, and humps like a camel. And then 2 years later, another 20 people said they saw it, and they saw it diving in the water, and they said it was about 40 feet long. And that same year, a guy named Thomas L. Rogers, who was like an auditor for a local firm, said it swam past his boat, and he also described it sort of similar. Well, he said it was about 50 feet long, had a snub nose like a crocodile, swimming about 5 miles an hour. So it was originally called Slimy Slim, or the Twilight Dragon.
Slimy Slim.
Yeah, and then in 1954, it got its current name, Charlie. We were talking about this before. Do you want to say why it's called that?
Sure. So some person called in to like a local radio station or something. She was saying, or I don't even know. I forgot the exact story, but...
I think it was a local newspaper.
Oh, okay. But she was saying, we should name the creature Charlie after some line in this comedy
Jack
thing.
Pearl or something?
Yeah, he goes, he's playing like a German or something like that. And he goes, "Was you there, Charlie?"
Yeah.
Which is sort of funny if you watch the clip or the clips of it, but it doesn't. I
don't
mean,
know how it relates to lake monster at all.
Well, because when he says "Was you there, Charlie," he was talking about diving into a lake to like recover something.
Sponges or something.
Yeah, because the other guy is saying you couldn't possibly bring up that many sponges.
Yeah, he said like 86 tons of sponges in one dive.
he's like, that's impossible. He goes, "Was you there?" Like saying that unless you've been to this lake, you don't know how easy it is to get the sponges or something. But...
Oh, okay. So it's like, if you don't believe in Charlie, were you there?
Yeah, exactly. Was you there?
Dive down and we bring up 87 tons of sponges with one dive.
87 tons of sponges?
Yeah.
That's impossible, preposterous. No one could bring up that many sponges in one dive.
No?
No.
Was you there, Charlie?
Oh, no, I was not there.
So we brought up 87 tons of sponges with one dive.
So that's what Charlie's name comes from. This weird, like, obscure, I don't know how obscure it is, but obscure to me, radio and comedy
I think it was 1950, so it's probably not.
Right.
Yeah, so I would say in the every notable sighting, even though there's only a few big ones, there are a lot of people, like multiple tour groups, 20 people, a bunch of workers. So I don't think it's just one person making it up. So I think there probably is some creature that they saw. Do you think they saw a creature, or are you going to say...
Yeah, I don't know, because maybe I could... Well, the sightings are only going from 1920 to 1997.
No.
First of all, the Native American myth about it does not seem at all related. Like, that's just something people latched on to explain it. Because it was just saying that this lake is scary. This lake is scary. This lake is deep. We don't, like, something evil is in there. And that, I mean, that could mean anything. That just means that, like, you can easily drown in it because it's dark and deep and... Like,
yeah, and Charlie doesn't seem evil, the monster.
Yeah, it doesn't say anything, it doesn't have anything to do with Charlie, so that's just a myth that's totally unrelated and is really a long time ago. Or, I mean, it started a long time ago, but it doesn't relate to the 1920 through 1997 sightings. Are you saying there's something since 1997?
Yeah, there is, because if this is on the cryptid website, and I guess Wikipedia says until 1997, but their source is a newspaper from that year, isn't it? Because I watched like a news report where they were saying from 2011 where they were talking about they have multiple sightings a year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
so at least until the like late 2000s.
But I'm thinking it could just be like a few, like sometimes there are logs and there are waves in the lake and it moves the log around, or like a few jumping fish or something. I don't know. It doesn't. I
can see the log moving, but undulating and stuff. See, so here's sort of what I think it could be. I don't think it's a plesiosaur because I don't think it could have survived and gotten into the lake and everything. But there are sturgeon in the lake, and sturgeon live for a long time and get very big. And like, I feel like if you look at a sturgeon's head, it kind of looks a bit like a crocodile or a dinosaur. We're just going to look at pictures. I'll put a few pictures on the screen maybe. Look how big they are as well.
I guess so.
Like obscured a little by the water and splashing around.
Sure.
And I know some locals have said in the news report that I watched that they think it's like a giant sturgeon. And there are sturgeon in that lake, and sturgeon can get pretty big. Not that we know of, they can't get to 30 or 40 or 50 feet, but they can get sort of big. And maybe this is an exceptionally big one. Yeah,
well, I'm just thinking, like, I've been on lakes and I've seen weird things in the lake, and I haven't immediately gone to, oh, it must be a lake monster. Like, usually I just assume it's a fish. But since there was already the idea that there's a lake monster in here, like... That's what you're going to hope it is.
That's what we were saying before, I guess, yeah. But if they're telling the truth about seeing it, like, or their best estimate of the length and seeing its head and the teeth and everything, that sounds like an animal, like a real animal.
I guess it could be a fish that they saw. But it's weird because, like, we're converging on the same idea, but you're supposed to be pro and I'm supposed to be against.
Yeah.
But I'm against in the sense that I don't think that there's a weird, like, sea serpent thing in there. And you're pro in the sense that you think that there's something there and it's a sturgeon, right?
Yeah. I mean, if you look at videos of giant sturgeon swimming around, like, I don't know where the line is where you can say it is or isn't a monster. I mean, not that I don't think they're particularly dangerous or anything, but...
Well, the thing about this cryptid is it's, like, not very well fleshed out. I mean, when you're debating whether or not it exists, you're debating whether or not there is something in this lake. Because it's not like they say that it has certain powers or that they're not claiming what animal it is. And it's just like, is there an animal there or is there not?
Another thing as to why I think it might be a sturgeon is that it's called the Twilight Dragon because apparently sightings are like during twilight, dawn and dusk.
Okay.
And I was looking up when are sturgeon most active. Dawn and dusk as well.
All right. Well.
So I think it might just be a very big sturgeon.
Yeah, but probably not just one. Like there's probably a population of big sturgeon in there.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. But maybe one particularly big one is what some of the people saw.
Right. So if you're from McCall, Idaho, please weigh in the comments. Let us know.
Yeah.
Or if you're just from Idaho and you've heard of
Charlie Vazudare?
Vazudare?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, this might be a bit boring because we've gone over so many lake monsters. But...
And we're kind of just like agreeing with... Maybe, that's what I was also saying, maybe Cryptid Court should change to like Cryptid Investigates where we just try and explain.
Yeah, let us know if you prefer the debate. Let us know if you prefer the debate format or if you would rather us just explain it and not go head to head.
Yeah. And you can, if you want us to do, like you send in an email for us to debate or to choose a cryptid or something, or you have any ideas about how to do this, and you can send them to thewildworldpodcast@gmail.com. That's thewildworldpodcast@gmail.com.
Subscribe to the YouTube channel for full episodes or download the MP3 from the links below.